It's time again for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show covering fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation and destinations right here in the region you live and play in. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, makers of the world-famous wedding ring spinner, by Loophole, America's Optics Authority, and by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Northwestern Outdoors is also sponsored by Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon, where you'll find both nature and fun. By Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering you the affordable Canadian fishing trip of a lifetime. And by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. So grab your fishing rod or hunting gear, load up the boat or lace up your boots, and let's head outdoors with your host, John Cruz.
I know a lot of you tuning in today are on your way to or back from a duck blind or deer stand this morning. I'll tell you what, it is my favorite weekend of the year. Opening day here in Washington State for ducks and bucks, and I suspect opening day for quite a few of you waterfowl hunters out there. And this has always struck me as unfair, because at least in the Evergreen State, you have to choose one great hunting opportunity over another. Having said that, though, it's hard to go wrong no matter what choice you make. I'll be taking my daughter Faith out this weekend for her first opening day of duck hunting, and we'll be joined as usual by my son David and best friend Rusty Johnston for our traditional duck camp experience. Don't forget fishing either. October is probably the most underrated month of the year for fishing because so many sportsmen and women are hanging up their rods and taking out their rifles or shotguns. That's a shame, because a cast and blast vacation combines the best of both worlds, and October, in my opinion, may well be the best month of the year to go fishing for trout, bass, walleye, steelhead, and more. One place you can go for a cast and blast getaway is the Lewis and Clark Valley, along the combined border of southeast Washington, north central Idaho, and northeast Oregon. That's where we're taking you this week on Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We'll start off in Clarkston, where we'll get a chance to talk to the president of Visit Lewis and Clark Valley, Michelle Peters. Michelle is quite the steelhead angler, and she'll tell you all about the annual Clearwater Snake Steelhead Derby coming up in November, which just happens to be the biggest steelhead derby in the entire country. One place to catch these steelhead and salmon too this month is on the Snake River near Heller Bar. That's where the Grand Ronde River flows into the Snake, and there's a 2-mile stretch of water there that is an awesome and surprisingly uncrowded place to fish. Jim Stahl with Northwest Fishing Guides will tell you more about it and give you some advice on how to catch these fish this month. Let's not forget hunting. There are several wildlife areas in the far reaches of southeast Washington offering opportunities for both birds and big game. They are the Chief Joseph and Asotin Creek wildlife areas, and Bob Dice with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife will tell you more about them. After that, we'll cross the border into Oregon and head to Joseph. Just south of there is where you'll come across Wallowa Lake, a beautiful body of water that is known for giving up a world record kokanee in 2009. The kokanee fishery there has fallen on hard times since then, but there are signs it is coming back. And the trout fishing, well, that's always been good there. Brad Snook at the Sports Corral in Joseph will tell you more about the state of fishing on Wallowa Lake. In addition to this, we've got some outdoors news for you to include an analysis of what the Bass Pro takeover of Cabela's means to us here in the northwestern United States. Throw in an extended Max Minute with Lance Mers and our Sportsman's Warehouse trivia question of the week, and we've got another full hour of the great outdoors coming your way. But before we head to Clarkston and Lewiston, we've got another edition of Sportsman Spotlight for you. This week, Matt, Tom, and David Sparks have got a great suggestion on where to fill your bear tag this fall. Sportsman Spotlight is sponsored by Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering all-inclusive fishing vacations out of Port Hardy, BC for salmon, halibut, and more. Check out their website at coastwidesportsfishing.com.
This is Sportsman Spotlight with Matt and Tom. Filling your bear tag this year might be a little easier if you happen to know an orchardist with a bear problem. Here's reporter Dr. David Sparks with more information from Idaho Fish and Game.
Idaho Department of Fish and Game said bear behavior is different this time of year because bears are leaving the forest in search of food before the winter. While that can lead to bears crossing roads, it also has reportedly led to bears in apple orchards. Idaho Fish and Game officials say they have investigated so many different sites where trees loaded with apples have limbs that bears can reach and tear down. Residents are urged to clean up windfalls as soon as they occur, and while most people picture bears to be ardent meat eaters, They are in reality highly opportunistic omnivores that will consume whatever food sources they can easily obtain, according to conservation educator Greg Lazinski of IDFG.
We're at that point now where the bears are trying to top off their tanks, so to speak, before heading into the dens. So anything's fair game, including apples. We've been having trouble with black bears right now getting into apple trees, so we're trying to work with folks to keep the areas clean and the bears out of trouble, especially so that their bigger cousins, the grizzlies, don't show up.
If you're still trying to fill your bear tag this fall, it might be a good idea to connect with an orchardist who would most likely be ecstatic to have his pesky bear removed from destroying his fruit trees. Once a branch is broken, that branch may never bear fruit again, which results in a loss of around $800 during the tree's lifetime. And it might be a good idea to share some of that apple fat and bear breakfast sausage with that farmer. Keep your hunting invitation open next fall.
That was Sportsman Spotlight. Thank you for tuning in.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun and rise above us.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're broadcasting from Clarkston, Washington. We're talking to Michelle Peters. She is the president and CEO of Visit Lewis-Clark Valley. And Clarkston-Lewiston has a very special fishing derby coming up. As a matter of fact, it's the only one of its kind in the nation. It's the Clearwater Snake Steelhead Derby. And Michelle's going to tell us more about it. Michelle, great to have you back on the air.
Well, thank you. The Steelhead Derby is coming up this November. Our kickoff is Friday, November 18th from 6 to 9 here in Lewiston, Idaho. And it's a great event where you come and you can win some prizes and door prizes when you sign up for the Derby. And it goes for the entire week and doesn't end until noon on Saturday, November 26th.
So let's break down exactly how the Derby works. Now, obviously, you're after the biggest fish, and I guess we better start off with that. How big was the biggest fish last year? And traditionally, because I know you fish this every year, how big is the biggest fish most years?
Usually, the fish is 21 pounds, but last year, the winner was 17.24 pounds for the overall Derby winner.
And folks, the reason these steelhead are so big out here is because it's this bee run that goes up the Clearwater, and they are known for having 20-pound fish. And I have never caught a 20-pound steelhead or even close to that, but this would be your shot, is to come up here and fish the Clearwater Snake Steelhead Derby. So, Michelle, let's break down some of the prizes here, because how much money is being given away total?
Overall, it's $10,000 in cash and prizes, and you have a chance to win first, second, and third place daily. In addition to that, they have mystery fish winners where you can win $50 if the random mystery weight is nearest to your fish. So it makes it pretty exciting for the Derby.
So the daily prizes, let's just talk about first place here. How big is the daily prize for a first place fish, and how big is the big fish of the whole Derby?
The overall winner for first place is $1,500. The second place is $750, and third is $500. But the daily prizes for heaviest fish, first is $150, second is $100, and you can even win for the smallest fish a $50 prize.
I would probably be in contention for that one. Let's talk about something else here, and that's how do folks go about catching these fish? And it is the Clearwater Snake Steelhead Derby, so what are the boundaries for the Derby?
You can actually fish from Clarkston all the way to Hells Canyon Dam, and then from Clarkston all the way to the dam in Orfino, Dorshack Dam.
Okay, so most of the anglers, do they fish the Clearwater or do they fish the Snake?
Well, there's a little secret here. Most of them fish the Clearwater, targeting the killer bee, Clearwater bee run. But also, a lot of people don't realize that some of the bee run fish from the Clearwater actually go up as far as Asotin. Just above Asotin, there's a boat launch up there. So some of those bee run fish are targeted in that area as well.
Well, there you go. Some insider information from somebody who knows. Again, folks, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Michelle Peters. She's the CEO of Visit Lewis-Clark Valley, handles a lot of the tourism for this area, and she's also an avid angler herself. She's been fishing the Clearwater Snake Steelhead Derby for years now. How many years?
16 years.
Wow. Have you won yet?
No, I haven't, but I keep trying.
But I understand your son did pretty good a couple years ago.
Yes, he got second overall with a fish that was about 17 pounds.
Wow. So let's talk tactics. How are most people catching these fish? Are they back trolling plugs? Are they bouncing eggs? What are they doing?
Most of the local anglers are back trolling with hot lips lures, and that seems to be a very effective technique. But most of the guides are side drifting with 9.5-foot rods, 4-foot leaders, and drifting with eggs.
I know they do that off of Heller Bar quite a bit. Are they doing that up on the Clearwater too, the whole side drifting game?
Definitely, all the way up the Clearwater.
Any secrets for success that you would have for anyone wanting to participate in this derby?
A lot of the big fish are also caught right here in the confluence of the Snake and Clearwater River. So if you go to a local tackle shop like Camp Cabin and Home, they have some of the favorite baits. And another secret is the purple shrimp.
Oh boy, we're getting all sorts of good info here. Last but not least, how do you enter and what is the cost?
The cost for a ticket is $30 per person, and that includes your dinner that evening at the opening ceremony. And you can register online at steelheadderby.com.
That's steelheadderby.com. And folks, that is nothing in terms of an entry fee. $30, that includes dinner and a chance to win up to $1,500 if you get the biggest fish. And even if you don't, there's a lot of fish to be caught out here at the Clearwater and the Snake. So you want to come out here and go ahead and have some fun by doing it during the Clearwater Snake Steelhead Derby. Michelle, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're going to tell you about fishing the Snake River for both salmon and steelhead. The place to do it at is near Heller Bar. That's where the Grand Ronde flows into the Snake River, and during the month of October, it offers some very good fishing. With us here to tell us more about it, Jim Stahl with Northwest Fishing Guides. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm glad I could be on.
So, Jim, you like to spend pretty much the month of October fishing for salmon and steelhead here at this stretch of the Snake River, don't you?
Yeah, and usually I kind of target the last 2 weeks of October and the first week of November. I try to get out of there before it gets too ungodly cold. There's been times, though, where I've been over there and it's been in the teens, but it's lovely over there. You're going to see bighorn, you're going to see deer, usually some elk, maybe every once in a while even a wolf or two, but it's just a gorgeous area.
Oh, I agree completely. But places to stay down there are limited. Now, you can camp down there, primitive camping, near Heller Bar. Where do most of your clients stay when they come fish with you? About an hour north in Clarkston?
Yeah, most of them stay in either Lewiston or Clarkston. Sometimes it just depends on if they're flying in or not, because they can every once in a while fly into Lewiston and they'll stay there. But most of them stay in that Lewiston-Clarkston area. There is a church camp that's about halfway into Heller's Bar, but it has some restrictions, and sometimes it's kind of hard to get in there, but that's your best bet is the Lewiston-Clarkston area.
All right. So once they're there fishing with you, how are you catching these salmon and steelhead?
We're doing the old-school free drifting, where you run up into a drift with the big motor and start the kicker motor and drift down just a little bit slower than what the current is. Your stuff's out there bouncing along the bottom fairly slowly. Usually eggs, sometimes some prawns, and then even some yarn and some scent. But the nice thing about it is you always have the rod in your hand, and you get to feel these fish pick it up and bite it. And sometimes they're jumping before you even know you got them on.
I got to take part in this fishery a couple years ago, and like you, I really, really enjoyed it. It was really productive, too. We got both our Chinook salmon and our steelhead, but one thing I noticed about it is that although it was really good fishing, it wasn't that crowded out there, and it was the height of the run.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about being where you are. I mean, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. You got to be dedicated to make the trek in there. Have some extras with you every once in a while, because you are at least an hour, from anything that can really help you. Even fuel, you've got to run back out to get fuel. So it kind of limits the number of guides and individuals that come in there. You will see the parking lot full a lot sometimes, but that's the jet boaters running up to their cabins up into the upper Snake. So you'll sometimes think it's real busy when it's not.
And how long is this fishery going to hold up? I know you're leaving the first part of November, but does it keep going for at least for the steelhead and that portion of the Snake?
Yeah, it'll actually go until, there's guys that fish it into January and February. It's just a matter of how long you can put up with the cold water. What happens is the launch will start to ice up after a while, and it kind of gets a little treacherous. But it's a fishery that you could literally start in October and you could stay there until probably middle of February if you wanted to.
All right, well, there you go, folks. If you want to find out more about this unique and really productive fishery off of Heller Bar, where the Grand Ronde flows into the Snake River about an hour south of Clarkston, Lewiston, Washington, go to Jim's website. It's nwfishingguides.net. Again, that's nwfishingguides.net. Jim's been doing this a long time. He knows how to catch fish. And like he said, this is a beautiful place to go fishing. Jim, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Oh, yeah, you guys take care.
It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
You demand quality performance from your binoculars, whether you use them in the field, on the water, or at a stadium. But you don't want to spend a fortune. That's where the BX Mackenzie binoculars from Leupold come in. These armored, waterproof binoculars are both comfortable and dependable. Look for your Mackenzie binoculars at quality sporting goods retailers near you, to include your Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, or Northwest Bi-Mart stores. BX Mackenzie, bringing your world into sharper focus, only from Leupold.
Today's line of portable camp stoves from Camp Chef have come a long way from your father's propane stove, featuring matchless ignition, more cooking power, and in some cases a built-in grill or extra burner. Look for the complete line of Mountain Series stoves at your local sporting goods store or online at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
It's that time again. It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on.
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us again, Lance Murs. Lance, fall is here. Great time to go fishing for walleye. Great time to go fishing for trout. What are some of your favorite lakes that you like to fish this time of year?
Lakes, I would say Banks Lake, Potholes, Lake Roosevelt, Lake Chelan. The choices, there's not enough hours in the day.
Well, and the great thing about fishing in October is that a lot of anglers have put down their rods. They've picked up their rifles or shotguns instead, so there's a little less pressure out there. But again, the fishing's phenomenal. So when you go to places like Banks Lake or Potholes Reservoir, lots of walleye there that are on the bite in the fall. What do you like to use?
Well, one of the things that I have in my tackle box for sure is a double whammy classic from Max Lure. You know, it looks like a wedding ring, but it's got a 2-hook concept with about a 3/4 inch gap on it. Myriad of colors, so you're going to be able to match the hatch really, really well.
And it's got that Indiana blade. Again, you can get it in chrome or brass or all sorts of different colors, like you said. And I really like some of the new colors you've come out with for this classic because they really match the hatch, so to speak, in terms of the forage base for the fish that are in these waters.
They do, especially in these fall conditions. And, you know, we took that into consideration when we built these lures. So this type of lure can be fished any type of the year, but with that fall fish and the less pressure, with people being on the water, you're going to have more of a better time, I think.
All right, buy yourself a carton of night crawlers or worms, stock up on some double whammy classics, and go fishing at a lake near you. And that wraps up this week's Max Minute.
I'm Bob Loomis, and I fish for walleye. Sometimes when I'm out on the water, I feel like a destroyer captain hunting for targets with my electronics. I'm not hunting submarines, though. I'm hunting fish, and when I find that big one on the fish finder, I want to make sure she's going to bite. That's where the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig from Max Lure comes in. The Smile Blade spins and flashes at ultra-slow speeds, and the one-of-a-kind red hook keeps that bait moving in a way the fish can't resist. It's the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig. You're the destroyer. This is your depth charge. Only from Max Lure.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Sitting in my stand way up in the tree wearing blazo R-A-N-G-E double barrel 12 gauge, ain't using no bull. Hunting for a buck to hell with a doe. Got a view of the woods, got a view of the field. What a great stand, gotta keep the eyes peeled. Sky mini feet, this is gonna be fun. Shoot, there it is, load up the gun. Shoot, there.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're here to tell you about some hunting opportunities in the southeast corner of Washington State. Grant County, I think, gets most of the press when it comes to eastern Washington, but don't overlook Asotin County, because there's a lot going on down here. With us here to tell us more about it is Wildlife Area Manager Bob Dice, and we're talking to him in Clarkston today. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So let's break down some of the hunting opportunities available in Asotin County, because you've got pheasant. In fact, Asotin County is one of the best pheasant places to hunt in Washington State. You've got chukar, you've got deer. Do you even have elk down here too?
Yeah, we've got some pretty good elk herds on the Asotin Creek Wildlife Area and on the Chief Joseph Wildlife Area.
What other species can you hunt in the fall here in Asotin County?
There's mule deer, whitetail deer. There is a fall turkey season. There's chukar. Upland game birds is very popular. Chukar, Hungarian partridge, and forest grouse.
So let's run through some of the public lands where folks can do this, because there's several wildlife areas and units within those wildlife areas. And I guess we'll start down at the southern part of the county with the Chief Joseph Wildlife Area. Tell our listeners what they're going to find down there.
Chief Joseph Wildlife Area is in the very southeast corner of the state. It's bordered on one side by Hell's Canyon, which is the Snake River flows through it. And then quite a bit of our other lands run along the Grand Ronde River, along that corridor. So back to the corner, the Chief Joseph Wildlife Area is the main part of it is along Joseph Creek. Like I said, a lot of steep canyons, a lot of brushy riparian zones, which is where you're going to find most of the wildlife, a lot of the quail. And there is an elk herd in that very part of the state, kind of a small herd that runs around. But some of our other holdings include ground down near the bottom of the Shoemaker Grade, which is fantastic for steelhead fishing also. A lot of upland game bird opportunities, mule deer opportunities. And then there's the 4O Ranch Wildlife Area, which is a recent acquisition made by the department, and that takes in about a little over 10,000 acres.
And where exactly is that located?
The 4O Ranch Wildlife Area is located along the Grand Ronde River, so if a person was to leave Asotin and go south on State Highway 129 down to the bottom of the Rattlesnake Grade, and when you get to the bottom, take a right and go west up the Grand Ronde, and you'll run right into the 4O Ranch Wildlife Area.
Well, I must have driven right through it on my way here from Troy, Oregon. And I can tell you, folks, there's a lot of steelhead fishermen down there already. The fish aren't quite in yet, but as the month of October progresses, more steelhead are going to be there and more steelhead anglers, too. Great thing about the Grand Ronde, lots of public access on that river.
Yes, there is. There's a lot of BLM land. There's some DNR school land down in there, plus a lot of fishing easements that are owned by the Department of Fish and Wildlife all up and down the river. But probably the one that's getting the most attention right now is the new 4O Ranch Wildlife Area.
And is that primarily for the fishing opportunities, or is there also hunting opportunities there too?
No, there's hunting opportunities there also, but the 4O is kind of a special place in that the deer and the elk hunting is limited entry. I mean, you have to draw a tag to hunt deer or elk on the 4O Ranch Wildlife Area. All other species are open, so if a person wants to go in there and hunt bear, cougar, forest grouse, or upland birds such as chukars or Hungarian partridge, that's wide open per the seasons.
And another place where you can hunt a lot of these species, I didn't quite make it there. I was heading up Bartlett Lane, which is one heck of a climb from the town of Troy on a very primitive road, but Grouse Flats unit of the Chief Joseph Wildlife Area. Tell our listeners about that.
Grouse Flats has been around for a long time. It was bought back in the late 60s, but it's a 640-acre parcel. It's mostly forested, but it does have a 200-acre ag field it's a dryland hay field. And we recently leased that out to a sharecropper a few years ago, but he has planted a very palatable mix of clovers and alfalfas and grass out there, but it's been pretty attractive for especially elk and deer.
All right, so we've covered Chief Joseph. Let's go ahead and move further north, the Asotin Creek Wildlife Area. Is this pretty much an upland bird and pheasant hunting show?
Yeah, not so much pheasants, but there are some, but mostly upland birds, quail, chukar. Asotin Creek Wildlife Area is divided into two units. There's the George Creek unit, which is kind of right smack in the middle of the county, and on the George Creek unit, you're going to find more mule deer and upland game birds like chukar and huns again. And that one it's got some flat agricultural fields on top of the ridges and then steep canyons. George Creek runs through it, Pintler Creek, Ayers Gulch, and some canyons like that.
And you've got to tell me now where I can find some of these pheasant in Asotin County. So if I'm not finding them at Asotin Creek, I'm not finding them at Chief Joseph, I know that this is one of the top pheasant producing areas in Washington State. Where can I get my pheasant fix on public land?
It's probably around the perimeter of our borders up on the Asotin Creek Wildlife Area. Probably the George Creek unit where we have some hay fields, some agricultural fields up there. There's wheat stubble and some farming activities going on, but that'd probably be your best bet for finding some pheasants.
One other thing I want to talk about, when I was taking Highway 129 from Bogan's Oasis up to Asotin, saw lots of signage with feel free to hunt by permission. It looks like you've done a really good job of leveraging some private lands and getting access for hunters.
Yeah, that would be our private land staff that work on that program, but a lot of hunting by written permission. There's some feel free to hunt, and there's even a couple of sites that are registered to hunt in this county. But there's good upland game bird opportunities on those lands, but a person wants to do your homework, contact the landowners, pay attention to what's on the bottom right-hand corner of the signs as far as contact information. Call those guys, and that'll go a long ways.
Any other wildlife areas here in Asotin County that folks need to know about, or any other opportunity that you want to share?
Well, I didn't talk about the upper part of the Asotin Creek Wildlife Area. That's the main part, which takes in Lick Creek and Smoothing Iron Ridge, and also our Weatherly unit. But again, good mule deer hunting up in those areas, chukars, huns, quail, and bear, cougar. It's all there.
In terms of maps, in terms of finding out more about hunting in Asotin County, WDFW website, I presume?
Yeah, WDFW website, go to the Go Hunt site, or if folks want to talk about some of the wildlife areas, they're certainly welcome to call me.
All right. The website, folks, is wdfw.wa.gov. That's wdfw.wa.gov. You can go to the Go Hunt page, or you can just go ahead and type in Chief Joseph Wildlife Area or the Asotin Creek Wildlife Area, and Bob's phone number will pop up right there. And give him a call. Like you said, find out more about hunting in Southeast Washington, because there's certainly a lot of opportunity, whether you're a big game hunter or an upland bird hunter. Bob, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
You're welcome.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out in the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking. From camp stoves to cast iron, from smokers to grills, Camp Chef will change the way you cook outdoors. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Whether you're serving breakfast in the backcountry or barbecue on the back patio, savor the simplicity with Camp Chef. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Listen up, steelheaders. Fishing jigs under slip bobbers is one of the best ways to hook up with a metalhead this season, and Max Lure Company has got 2 jigs you have got to have. The Glow Getter is a marabou jig with a stout hook that's perfect for waters where no bait is allowed. When you can use bait, tie on a rock dancer. Tip it with a shrimp and put some oil on the scent collar, and before you know it, you'll be catching some of the best fighting fish around. The Glow Getter and Rock Dancer jigs, only from Max Lure Company.
Back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and it's time for news and reports from the field. And the big news, in case you haven't heard, is that one titan in the outdoors retail industry has devoured another. That's right. Bass Pro Shops has acquired Cabela's, and the deal will be finalized in mid-2017. What does this mean? Well, nationwide, it certainly means there's going to be some downsizing of the current Cabela's management staff as Bass Pro Shops management takes over a lot of those operations. And I think you'll see some stores closing, particularly where a Cabela's store and a Bass Pro Shops might be in close proximity to each other. So what does this mean to us here in the Northwest? Well, that's a good question. We actually only have 3 Bass Pro stores here in the Northwest. One is located in Tacoma, Washington. The other one is located near Vancouver, BC. And the third is located in southern Alberta. I would venture to guess that those Canadian stores are not going to affect U.S. operations much. And I say that because my suspicion is most of their clientele is Canadian-based, not U.S.-based. So I think the stores in Tulalip there, that's north of Everett in Washington, I think that one's going to be okay. I also think that the Post Falls store and the Billings store will be okay too. One store that may not be okay is the one in Lacey. That's right. The Cabela's store in Lacey is only 19 miles away from the Bass Pro Shops in Tacoma. When the Cabela's store was originally built, it was put in Lacey because it was meant to draw folks from the Seattle-Tacoma area and the Portland area too. Well, Cabela's has built a store in the Portland area in Tualatin now, so that is no longer much of a draw from the Portland-Vancouver area. And I would imagine that if Bass Pro decided to close that Cabela's Lacey store, most of those customers are going to come to their store in Tacoma. I don't have any inside information or anything about this, but looking at my crystal ball, I would venture to say the future of Cabela's and Lacey is pretty cloudy right now. And that the fortunes of that Bass Pro Shop in Tacoma, well, they're going to go up quite a bit. Moving on to legal news from the Billings Gazette, we learn a Montana senator running for re-election is a poacher. State Senator Randy Webb from Billings pled guilty this year to a misdemeanor after he was charged with shooting a 5x6 whitetail buck. This was after he had already harvested a 2x3 mule deer buck. Not only that, but he also took the shot from a roadway onto private land that he did not have permission to hunt on. Webb was fined $1,000 and had his hunting and fishing privileges revoked for a year. When asked, Senator Webb declined to comment on the incident to the Billings Gazette, which discovered all this after a public records request. I'm pretty sure this October surprise is not going to help Senator Webb's re-election efforts. Just saying. Speaking of staying out of trouble, be sure not to shoot any ASAs this fall. What's an ASA? An artificially stimulated animal. Or think of it as a robotic deer or elk. They're put close to roads, and then they're watched by conservation officers to see if somebody's going to take a shot from the road or take a shot from their car in an effort to nab what they think is a deer. It's all completely illegal. You can't do that. And if you're caught doing it, you're going to get a fine of up to $1,000 and maybe even up to 6 months in jail. This comes from the Idaho Fish and Game, but they're not the only state doing this. Several states have these robotic animals, and they use them to catch folks who are doing the wrong thing. So don't be that guy, don't be that gal, don't be shooting an ASA. Hunt safely and hunt ethically. And finally, we've all heard about the sea lions taking a big bite out of the salmon and sturgeon numbers below Bonneville Dam on the Columbia River, but you don't hear much about the same issue taking place in the nearby Willamette River. Well, the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife did a 4-year study on sea lion predation of salmon below Willamette Falls, and according to an article from the Northwest Sport Fishing Industry Association, it's a real problem. The 2016 season saw 14% of the returning wild stock eaten by sea lions, a significant amount considering their low escapement number of just under 5,800 fish. Additionally, the predation rate is up from 11% in 2015. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife is looking at sea lion predation on other species in the Willamette, including summer steelhead, wild and hatchery spring chinook, and sturgeon. These other runs are also experiencing losses, but not at such a high proportional rate of the run. The study should help ODFW decide whether to remove problem sea lions, as has been done below Bonneville Dam. Turning to field reports, got a bit of bad news here. I had a great conversation with Brad Snook at the Sports Corral in Joseph about a week ago and recorded that, my field recorder. Got back, getting ready to go ahead and plug it in for you to hear, and unfortunately, there's a file error. It's corrupted. Don't have it for you, so you have to listen to me instead. But I can tell you what he told me about the situation at Wallowa Lake there near Joseph, Oregon. Now, as you may recall, the world record kokanee was caught out of here in 2009 by Ron Campbell, a 9-pound, 10-ounce kokanee, and it was the latest in a string of records that was broken over about a 3-year period there. Unfortunately, that kokanee fishery crashed right after that. So there was tons of kokanee, but they were tiny. We're talking 4 to 6 inch fish. So what Brad explained to me is that kokanee basically operate in 10-year cycles. And the good news is we're 7 years past that now, and that fishery is coming back. In fact, according to the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, kokanee anglers are catching limits at 25 fish a day right now, and the size is increasing. We've gone from those 4 to 6 inch fish to 7 to 8 inch fish, and now 8 to 9 inch fish average, with some of the kokanee being caught up to 12 inches long. So it looks like we are climbing back up to a situation where Wallowa Lake may once again be a trophy kokanee lake in just another year or two. But in the meantime, lots of pan-sized kokanee being caught there. That's great news. Another thing that's really good news about Wallowa Lake is that it's gotten a lot of trout stockings, and these trout there really grow to some good sizes. 12 to 14 inch trout are not uncommon at all. And it has been fishing well all summer long and this fall as well, according to both Brad Snook and also to the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. As a matter of fact, ODFW recommends that these stocked fish, they're not doing the fake bait anymore. Now they're transitioning, as we get into fall here, towards natural baits and natural bait imitations. So if you're fishing there for the trout, fish that natural bait, like a night crawler or maybe a hopper or something like that, just off the bottom for success. And if you need fishing supplies and the latest fishing report, stop by the Sports Corral in Joseph, Oregon. Brad and his staff are happy to help you. They're great folks, and they've got a good supply of the fishing gear you'll need while you're there. By the way, in terms of artificial lures, Brad is a big fan of the Acme Castmaster, and I don't blame him. That lure works for the trout, I'll tell you what. And now, let's give you the results from opening weekend for deer hunters in Northeast Oregon. We'll start off in Wallowa County, where buck hunters experienced low success because the deer were not very active during the dry weather that we saw during that October 1st weekend. The good news is the cool, rainy weather that we're getting now should improve hunting conditions. Deer numbers are below management objectives in most units, so Wallowa County might be a little bit of a tough hunt, though I can tell you, when I was there right before the opener, I saw plenty of deer in Wallowa County. Grant County's opening weekend report. The weather was generally cool and breezy in Grant County, but hunters were having difficulty finding bucks in some portions of the Murderers Creek unit. Success rates for hunters checked ranged from 6 to 12%. In Morrow, Gilliam, and Wheeler counties, overall success was low, with many hunters finding few deer. Cooler and moister weather should improve the hunting and success as this month progresses. And finally, in Umatilla County, extremely dry, warm weather created difficult hunting conditions on the opening day weekend. The deer were inactive because of that warm weather and difficult to find because they just weren't moving around. Hunter activity was up because the weather was nice and folks were happy to get outside. But again, the lack of movement or visibility of deer suppressed hunter success. Now that the weather is getting a little bit more fall-like and a little wetter, hunting conditions should improve. Our thanks to the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife for getting us this information in a timely manner. Stick around. In just a couple minutes, we're going to have your Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week, your chance to win a $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse, and we've got some events taking place, too, at those stores that you're going to want to attend. It's all coming up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
The road is calling you to experience one of Oregon's 7 wonders, the Wallowas. So grab your hiking boots and camera and capture the beauty and grandeur of Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Experience nature like never before when you saddle up and ride into the Eagle-Capped Wilderness, hike the trails of the Wallowas, hear the wind rush through the bunch grass and view the wildlife of the Zumwalt Prairie, or ride the churning waters of the wild and scenic Wallowa, Snake, and Grand Ronde rivers. This summer, take the road that leads to wonders. It begins at WalawaCountyChamber.com.
If you've ever been fishing in Mexico, you know how good it can be, and now you can fish there with the Real News. Take your choice of a trip to Baja's East Cape for roosterfish, marlin, and dorado. These trips are value priced, so you can stretch your dollars in fun. To find out more about fishing Mexico with the Real News, log on to therealnews.com or call 425-334-8966. Again, that's therealnews.com or 425-334-8966. For an incredible adventure.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands so future generations can enjoy what we enjoy. Join the group that makes a difference. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top-quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out in the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
One more time this week for Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
We've got some upcoming events taking place at Sportsman's Warehouse stores around the Northwest to share with you. The first one taking place Monday, October 17th from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Helena store. It's about what to do with your fish after you catch it. You'll learn essential handling skills that will provide the best table fare from your catch at this seminar. And on the 20th, at the same Helena store from 4 to 6 p.m., they've got tips and techniques for meat snacks. That's right. If you're tired of the same old snacks, let the folks at the Sportsman's Warehouse store there in Helena help teach you how to spice up your meat. Also on the 20th, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the Puyallup, Washington store, there's a crappie fishing seminar where you'll get to learn all sorts of secrets to get you into a mess of crappie. And finally, on Saturday, October 22nd, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Bend Sportsman's Warehouse store in Central Oregon, you'll learn how to smoke your Thanksgiving turkey. That's right, you'll learn how to inject, rub, and all the different flavors you can do to make your next Thanksgiving Day bird one to remember. Better still, they're going to have free samples of smoked turkey. That's a great reason to go right there. And now it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week. Pheasant hunting opens up this month in the Northwest. Ringnecks are not only fun to hunt, but also great tasting table fare. Pheasant, though, are not native to the United States. Nope, they were introduced here from another country. Do you know what country that is? If you do, go to our website at northwesternoutdoors.com, go to the Contact Us page and let us know. Or if you prefer, go to our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Look for the posts that we have there, like our page, and give us your answer. One lucky person who knows what country our pheasants came from will be winning a $25 gift card. We give one away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. While you're on the web, go to RenoViolaOutdoors.com. That's the home of WRVO Radio. It's an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming. This show and our sister show, America Outdoors Radio, both air on there, along with all sorts of other great shows covering the entire outdoor spectrum here in North America. The website again, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. And finally, don't forget to check out our other show, America Outdoors Radio. You can find it at a station near you. We're up to 30 stations now. Or you can go online to AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com and listen to last week's episode right there on the website. That's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed our visit to Southeast Washington and Northeast Oregon. If you want to find out more about fishing and hunting opportunities in these places, along with accommodations, places to eat, and other things to do, here's a couple websites. The first one for Lewis and Clark Valley is visitlcvalley.com. That's visitlcvalley.com. And if you're heading to Wallowa Lake, you'll want to go to WallowaCountyChamber.com. Again, that's WallowaCountyChamber.com. Both great websites with tons of information. We've got to go. But until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.